Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our special webinar event. My name is Jackie Burns. I'm the State Director here in Minnesota for the Convention of States, and we hope that our message today, that you'll find it inspiring and we'll be able to answer some questions that you might have about what the heck are we doing and what are we going to do. So with that being said, I also want to acknowledge that I understand that we have people from other states on the call, and welcome to you as well. We have a lot of the COS family members that are on the call, other states that are looking to do the same thing. So let me just give you a little disclaimer here. This broadcast is all produced by volunteers. We're not professionals. So there may be a glitch or two, but hopefully you'll stick with us. I wanted you to know that I'm going to speak for a little bit, and then I'll bring on a couple team members who are going to speak, and then at the end of this webinar, we're going to play a most important video. So I hope you'll stay on to watch that. It's about a 5-6 minute video, but it's so powerful and potent, and I know that it will address some of the issues that we all come here with today. So and some of you come with a lot of knowledge about Convention of States, some come with just little, and maybe even some of you have not even signed our petition. So I want to tell you that before I start, you'll see the long oblong box on the right-hand side of your screen. There is a box where you can type in questions. We'll be posting things in there throughout the webinar as well. So please don't be afraid to make your voice heard. So the Convention of States is a grassroots movement, totally organic, and our mission statement is to build a strong, engaged army of self-governing grassroots activists. Now, why that is that, say, if once we have a convention and some proposed amendments come out of that and they're ratified by the 38 states, if we go back to sleep, we're going to end up here again, because as you all know, the national populist progressives are never going to rest. They will never give up, and they're always looking to undo this great republic. So that's what we spend our time doing, is trying to spread the word so that people know that they are more powerful than what they think they are. So the Convention of States here in Minnesota, I've been the state director for 3 years, and when I started, we didn't really have much of a team, and we have a great team now. We still need more people, but what I want you to know is that in order to get this to move forward, advance forward, we need people to use their voices to help promote it. Now, if you're like me, I support a lot of different groups and organizations, and you know, they're all really, really important. This is the first thing that I've joined where I know that my actions are making an appreciable difference. You know, we can join coalitions and those voices rally together are very powerful. This, the Convention of States, is an effort to use Article 5 of the Constitution to promote our 3-part resolution to call for a Convention of States. It's an amendments convention. So our 3-part resolution is: 1, to rein in the scope, power, and jurisdiction of the federal government. 2 is to impose term limits, not only on Congress, but other federal bureaucrats and officials. 3 is to limited spending, to balance the budget, and not just by, and we're not going to raise taxes. Spending is out of control. So that 3-part resolution is being worked in all 50 states. And when 34 states come together and pass this resolution, then a convention can be called. good news, in case you don't know this, governors have no say in this. Yay. So that's what we're working to do here. And I could give you a whole lot more history about Minnesota, what's happening, and we will perhaps maybe do that at another time. I want to, because we have important things to share. I don't want to take too much time, but what I want to talk to you about is, what does it take to be a citizen activist? Because most of us are not necessarily inclined to citizen activism. Myself, I didn't have a clue what it was, nor did I have any inclination to become one. I found out about the Convention of States and had signed up a whole year before I got active to be a district captain. And it wasn't until I received a phone call from Joanne Laffenberg, the Wisconsin state director, who, I'm paraphrasing, and she was very kind, who said, you're a district captain, you want to do something about it. And, at that time I thought, oh boy, that didn't sound like good news. Truthfully, I was afraid. I was really afraid. And so shortly after that, I was listening to a Mark Levin podcast. And for those of you that are Mark Levin fans, you know how he can go off on people when they say really idiotic things. So a caller called in one night and said, hey, Mark, you know what you should do? And he goes off on the guy and says, what do you mean what I should do? What are you doing? I wrote a whole book for you called The Liberty Amendments. That was my defining moment. And, it just was like a punch in the gut. Laying in bed that night, I kept thinking, I'm not enough. I can't do this. What am I, I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have any skills, ability, or talent. And the message I got was, Jackie, who do you think you are? Look at what Moses did. He had a speech impediment, for crying out loud. So that was enough. The Convention of States national team offers a lot of support. The Minnesota team offers support to its members. There's lots of things out there to help us along the way. It took me, I would say, probably 9 months before I felt like I could halfway intelligently articulate about the message of Convention of States and Article 5 of the Constitution. So, and I'm just saying that because I want you to know that everybody is enough. Everybody is. Everybody has particular skills and talents that they can bring. We have a lot of different roles and positions on our team. So if you wonder what that might be for you, contact us. We'll guide you in the right direction. I always say nobody on the team wears a shoe that pinches. So with that being said, I just want you to know that when I finally got active, my immediate thought was, oh my God, my life is over. It's not going to be any fun, because I'd volunteered in other capacities before. And nothing could be further from the truth. I really am doing enjoyable work. The reason that I wanted to have people come together for the message of hope is that there's something really powerful that happens when you gather together with like-minded people, that all of a sudden you come with an empty cup and you find that your cup is filled and there's hope where there was little or none. So that basically is what the message is. Convention of States has a solution as big as the problem. And, I think back to 6-9 months ago, or even just a few months ago, along the way, working in my capacity, I listen to the news and I think, boy, it can't get any worse. Yeah. And then move ahead now, and I'm still saying, how could it get any worse? There is so much at stake. Our country is at stake here. And I know that weighs as heavy on your hearts as it does on mine. In order to get things done, we need to build a coalition of grassroots activists. So if you want to know what a grassroots activist looks like, go look in the mirror. You'll find one there. It always looks like somebody else. And for a long time, I had believed that as long as I signed petitions, I posted things on social media, as long as I voted, I went to rallies and nothing changed. I went to a Right to Life rally at the state capitol. I think it was in February. It was really cold on the stairs of the state capitol. And there had to have been 10,000 people there, all really just rallied together for the rights to life. Now, that was in February. No, it must have been last year. Sorry, lose track of time. What changed? After 10,000 people rallied together, wonderful, beautiful people, all for the same thing, a wonderful coalition. And coalitions are important, but what changed? So we're working to come up with a way that we can change things and restore our great republic back to the way that our founders had intended. We have a lot of organizations that have us in their crosshairs. A couple Easters ago, Easter weekend, there were 240 George Soros funded groups that were unleashed against Convention of States. And I immediately felt afraid until I realized, wait a minute, judge us by our enemies. Just as we watch day in and day out the battle for our country between just our leaders in DC, what the press is doing, everything, they're fighting really hard because they're scared. Not that we're not, but this is a solution, and I hope that you'll find your way. I just want to say one more thing, and that is that in starting out, I went to the Convention of States website and I clicked on resources, and I just marinated my brain in videos and lots of information there. So if I can do it, and I want you to know that there's really, truly nothing special about me. There's nothing in my resume that says that I should be in this role, only that I stepped up. And there's really, if I can do it, so can you, and pray to God that you will. So with that being said, I would like to introduce you to a member of our team, and she'll come on camera in just a second, hopefully. And Kathy Caroline, there you are, Kathy. So Kathy Caroline is on the Convention of States Minnesota team. She started as a district captain, and when asked, she stepped into the regional captain role as well. Many of us hold lots of different roles, but in her capacity, she is just a rock star of the Minnesota team. She also is a recipient of the Challenge Coin Award, and National Team awards those to people who go above and beyond what their role is, and that's who Kathy is for me. So Kathy, thank you for being on the call, and welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background. What did you do before you retired?
Well, I grew up in Northwest North Dakota and went and studied nursing. So I worked 43 and a half years as a nurse and retired in the fall of 2017. So then I started feeling like I needed to do something. I swore while I was working that all I was going to do is sit and read books. And I did a lot of that, but I started getting an urge that I needed to get involved in something. I just wasn't sure what. And then in February of 2018, David Schneider was our regional director at that time, and he sent an email. And I couldn't figure out how he even got my address, but it seemed like maybe that would be where I should go. And so I really wanted to go to that. And
What was it? What was the event?
Oh, the event was a rally at the Capitol. So my husband was going to go with me, but then ended up having to work. Growing up in North Dakota, I didn't do big city driving, and I was not eager to do it, but I really wanted to go to the rally. So I made myself go, and I loved the rally. It was so inspiring. It just felt like home, being among all those people that we were just all for the same thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So then what happened from there after having attended the rally?
Well, I had first heard about Convention of States back in 2013. Mark Levin had just written his book, The Liberty Amendments, and I heard him on the Glenn Beck Show. And I really was interested and checked it all out, but then I had never heard anything again and didn't research it further until I got the email from David Schneider. And so after the rally was when I ended up contacting you, and you said that you needed people to do Capitol Days, to come sit in committee hearings. And I just asked how often, and you said, well, we are there Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And I said, I'll do all 3 days. And I thought that means 3 days of driving. But I just did it because I just wanted to do it. And after that, I had talked with you, and you talked about marinating your brain. And so that's what I did. My computer went everywhere I went. I was playing videos from the resource tab on COS.com, and I read there's so much information on there. That's about all I did for weeks. And then we started talking about district captain. And so I decided to jump for that then in May. But still not very confident about what I knew and that I could do it, but that's about it.
Okay, so from what you say, it kind of sounds like you really weren't too afraid to do much of anything when you joined the team. I mean, you just fell right in and did the deal, right?
That's not exactly how it was. I've always battled self-confidence, and that was no different this time. It's just I had a real push to do it. And yet I had this negative little voice going frequently, but you can do it. I'd listen to you talk about things and it just flowed out of your mouth. And when I'd try, it just seemed like gobbledygook. So I practiced. I would practice. My family got together. I gave them a presentation. I tried to answer their questions, and I found out through them how much I didn't know yet. And so then I would go study up on what they asked. And no, it wasn't easy because I was used to just following directions. You're going to go take care of a patient. Yeah, I can make small talk with patients, but when I'm trying to tell people about something I firmly believe in, I just have difficulty, as you can tell right now, getting out what I want to say. And it just takes practice, lots and lots of practice. And I've had a couple years now, so it's getting easier, but it's still difficult. Every time I get asked to do something a little different, there's that little voice again on my shoulder, and I got to battle it back. But you know, the people in this organization, they're so kind and they're so supportive, and it just feels like a family. And listening to the news nowadays, it's so bad. I just find myself pulling away. But through this webinar, it's nice to get back and feel involved. And when we were doing our town halls, that was wonderful, but now we have to readjust because of COVID. So it's a learning process all the way along, and all we can do is stand up for our principles and what we believe, and let God do the rest.
Amen, sister. Amen. Thank you, Kathy. One of my favorite things about you is we went to a festival in a park. It was a couple summers ago, and there were bands playing, and we couldn't really talk to people. The music was so loud, and we had these sandwich boards, and so people were sitting in lawn chairs watching the band, and some people were up dancing, and I said, let's take these sandwich boards and just like dance right in front of the people. And Kathy is just so fearless. She did it with me. I just love that about you, Kathy. We laughed a lot about it. So there are, you know, two old girls just dancing in front of people with Convention of States flag. It's really funny. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do for Convention of States. You are most inspiring. God bless you, Kathy.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You betcha. Okay, so next, one of the things in coming up with the webinar idea is in realizing how. Are you stuck, Kathy? You're still on camera. Okay, is realizing that you know how much of our history we don't know. And so I want to introduce you to another team member, Ed Thompson. He is our state communication coordinator, and he also, where are you, Ed? There he is. Okay, so Ed also produces our newsletter and is really masterful with history. And since there's so much energy and emphasis on revisionist history, I asked Ed if he might just give us a little bit of a history lesson, and he agreed to do that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Ed.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Hi, everyone. I want to share with you that I'm not a professional historian, but I am kind of a sleuth, and I like to discover things, and I like to figure out details, and it's important to me for some reason, and I want to share with you some things about America that you may not know. You may know it, but you may not know it. The first thing I want to say is that the inspiration for me to talk, I could say, has come from David Barton and his presentation in the 2019 Cost Leaders Summit. And I'm going to give you a link to that talk that he gave. It's about an hour long, but I'm going to put it right in the chat area. And so you will be able to see kind of where I'm coming from just by watching his video, because like Jackie said, when people come together of the same mind, it's powerful. And if you watch, I don't think you can watch David Barton's talk without having a little bit of more affection for America. So let's just go ahead and keep going here, because I know I'm I haven't tried this out to make sure it's 10 minutes, so let's make sure.
Okay.
First thing I want to say, I'm going to speak a little bit about philosophy before I speak about events in history. And David Barton did the same thing. If you watch the interview, you'll see it took him 45 minutes just to get to Article 5. It took him 45 minutes of discussion. I won't take that long, but let me just say that in a broad general sense, that societies in general, what makes a society good is when it's good for the people in general. And there will be everyone wants to be happy, but there will be some processes that you follow to ensure that outcome. And there was a lot of wisdom in the founding of America that people just had been dismissing. So I'm going to go through, first of all, before the era, the Enlightenment era and America in specifically, you could be important in one of three ways. You were either royal, you had military conquest, like you fought valiantly on a field, or you rose up the ranks in the established church. So you had religious clout. Those were the only three ways you were important. There was an example here is Henry VIII in the 1530s. He held two positions. He was not only King of England, he was also the supreme head of the Church of England. So he decided, well, I'm going to have two of those three ways of being important. But other people weren't considered important. And the structure of society can alter whether that comes true or not. And we'll see how the founders were wise about that. If you notice with the three ways, you pick your parents well and you have royalty. You pick your battles well and you'll have military triumph. Rise up the ranks in a established church. Those were the only three ways, and curing cancer isn't one of them. It's discovering how to improve the livelihoods of people was not one of them. So we needed to wait until there was enough acceptance of some ideas that are very important. And so we were waiting. It was brewing. There were, little societies were trying to come up and say everybody should be equal and free. And nothing really happened in the Dark Ages and in the medieval ages. So there's going to be, that's the contrast I want to give you, is that there's a totally different outcome that you'll get from using a different process. And let's see if I can go forward now. I'm going to give you an analogy. If you look at the Mona Lisa is arguably the most famous painting. Leonardo da Vinci painted it in the 1500s. I looked at the Mona Lisa just recently, and at the very top, there are these skies. They're cloudy skies. And the cloudy skies, if you look at them just by themselves, they look kind of ugly. They look like a dirty countertop if you zoom in. And so you want to study history to get a perspective. If you can think of just looking at that top 5% of the painting, it'll look ugly and you'll have to say, what's the Mona Lisa doing hanging in this museum? But if you pull back and then see the perspective, that's where you can see. You get more. History is important because it gives us the perspective we need to see the entire truth. So I won't say that America is perfect, but if you look at the broad perspective, you should love America if you look at it. So let me keep going. I know I'm about halfway through. I'm trying to do two things at once. So let's start with one of the criticisms of America is that it's just a racist country, and it's revolved around slavery. Well, it turns out that slavery is in every civilization as you go back in time. And if you're going to single somebody out, America, I'm going to argue, is the last place to single out for slavery. You'll see. I want to make sure I get to those, so I'm going to go ahead and just move forward. I'm sorry, this is the first time I've given a presentation and I didn't know. Let's see. I'm going to go right into it because I'm halfway through. All right, we're going to start with two societies that failed, and the first one is Athens. and it failed. And if you read Federalist number 6, Alexander Hamilton gives you an idea of why it failed. There's the leader Pericles, and he was getting into trouble with spending public money. They thought he stole gold from the public treasure, and there was a war with Sparta, and we had a Peloponnesian War, and then Athens fell from grace. So you can see that if the leadership at the top is allowed to do some things, that you could lose good civilizations. And that's the very first case. The second one is the fall of Rome, and that many things have been written about that. And the fall of Rome was kind of the government was getting pretty big. It was getting really big, actually. The military was getting very big. They were promising a lot of payments. They were inflating the money. All the things that we have been seeing happen a lot of times in America, where we're having a Federal Reserve right now who's printing trillions of dollars. And this is the kind of thing that happened in Rome before they fell. It's important for people to know that you can if you use the wrong process to try to get your outcomes, you can destroy the whole. It's like the farmer who had the goose that laid golden eggs, tried to get the eggs quickly by killing the goose. Well, that just killed the egg making. So let me go forward now, because I know I'm getting with time again. But let's go to the colonial era of America. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history. In 1606, the Virginia Company of London granted a royal charter by King James I, and 120 colonists went to Jamestown, Virginia. That's the very first English settlement. And then we had the Pilgrims. They came in 1620 on the Mayflower, and they formed Plymouth Colony. And if you go forward, there was a confederation of the New England, the Northeast states. And that confederation, they had a governor placed over that confederation, and it was Governor Sir Edmund Andros, and he was the first kind of mini tyrant, a governor who was rough on the colonists. And it turns out later on he'll be jailed. I won't have time to go into that either. Let me see, how much time do I have, Jackie?
You're okay. You're doing fine.
Okay, so I know I'm rushing this.
Yeah.
You know, one of the criticisms with America, again, is that it's racist, and we're known for slavery. But I want to just let you know that Providence, Rhode Island, in my looking, was the very first municipality to ever ban slavery in 1652. Now, you could say, people will argue, well, they weren't enforcing it or whatever, but it's still a step in the right direction. So America was the very first place where a ban on slavery existed, at least on paper. Also, the very first widely documented abolitionist tract was from Judge Samuel Sewall of Massachusetts in 1700. Notice, America is not even formed yet as the United States of America, but they're already coming out against slavery. So we need to hear both sides of the debate on that. You know, that is America this very, very terrible racist place that should be singled out for racism and slavery? And there are issues with America, and some of them do involve race. But America would be, if you look at history, you'll find out America is likely the last place you would single out for it. We led the world in many things. The first tract against slavery that was widely publicized, the first ban. There were no slaves in Massachusetts in 1790. That's something you might not hear about when you turn on the television. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move forward to what happened when we had. I guess I want to actually, I know I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to skip forward to something else. We had to try this. Let me just apologize. And we had to try something like this. I had to try this once to figure out how to do it right. And I want to let you know that I'm going to skip all the way forward to a time in America now where we had a major change in the way we were governed. And this time is in the 1930s, and the major change is called the New Deal. And I've just written a blog about it, and I'm going to share that blog with you in the chat area. I'm going to share the link to it. And in this, in my research on the New Deal, I found out that there was opposition to the New Deal in 1936, when this would be the second term of FDR, and he was up for re-election. And the Republican Party platform is given at the link. You'll see 12 of the points of the planks of the platform. And they really, if you look at what was true back then, it's what's true today. If you don't think history matters, go ahead and read that 1936 Republican Party platform and see how relevant it is to our problems today. And with that, I guess I'll conclude, because I think I'm going long already. Oh, and let me just say one thing at the end. If you see the blog, you'll see that it's not the end of all hope. It's not, we can do something about this. We've been given a tool. The founders were unanimous in giving us this tool. We just haven't used it yet. There have been amendments, and something David Barton said was, you don't let the party or the party who has gotten out of control be the one in charge of making the changes. And what he meant was, we shouldn't always. The founders knew this as well. You can't rely on Congress to pass amendments to restrict Congress or the federal government. You can't rely on them to do that. And they knew that when they wrote the Constitution. We can all be very grateful to live in a country that was founded on wise principles like that. And we just need to step up and save our country.
Thank you, Ed. I just want to say that I know very little history, and I've learned a lot from you. And so I really suggest, I've heard it said that we're destined to repeat our history if we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, with my limited knowledge of history, that really strikes a chord for me. And so I really appreciate the contribution that you are, Ed, to the Minnesota team. Thank you so much. So please check out the blog and watch for the Minnesota newsletter when we send those out via email, because Ed is the creator of that. And I thank you for your service, Ed. Thank you so very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So what I want to do with what time that we have left is to just say that I challenge you to listen to, like Kathy Caroline had said, listen to that conversation in your head, and it's going to give you all kinds of reasons why you're not the one. And for myself, conveniently, I wanted to believe that because there were lots of other people that are more powerful, talented, skilled, and able to do this, that what I was doing was simply enough. And the truth is that in order to move things forward, we need to have the numbers. We need to have the infrastructure. And so people say, well, it can never happen in Minnesota. Well, it can't happen in Minnesota if we don't have the infrastructure. That we're looking for district captains. We have 134 House districts in Minnesota. I feel really jealous of the states that have smaller House numbers, but we have 134 in Minnesota, and so we need a district captain in all 134 districts. And the district captain is the most important role on any state's team. And so you're charged with cultivating a relationship with your legislators. You're charged with helping to grow the grassroots in your district. And there's all kinds of training that's available for that. But just listen, it just, you get that feeling in your gut like, oh, I don't want to know this. Why did I attend this webinar? Ugh. Like what happened to me when I was listening to the Mark Levin podcast. Those are divine messages, I assert. So I hope that you will. We also have on the call, who won't be on camera, is Nina Forte. She will be answering any questions that you type in. And also Rick Jensen, who is our state videographer. So let me just ask Nina, are there any questions or hands being raised?
Yes, there are hands raised. There have been hands raised since the beginning. Would you like me to call on the three? And there are 3 hands raised.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll call on them and unmute them.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Dave Doty.
Okay.
I'm going to unmute Dave Doty.
Are you there, Dave?
He is self-muted.
You need to unmute yourself, Dave. Are you there, Dave?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Welcome.
Hello?
Welcome.
There you are. Yeah. Well, I've been kind of trying to share the Convention of States with my friends in my local community here. I've been basically just pointing them toward the website and kind of, send them that way so they can get an idea. A lot of people say, what if it gets out of control? And I'm like, well, it can't. You have to have so many states involved, and nobody's going to vote for some craziness like abolishing some amendments or whatever. But I was just wondering, is there any other, any other locations or information I can actually bring to these people rather than just pointing them toward the website?
Well, you can download quite a bit of information from the website. There's, if you just in the search field, you can search for those particular topics, and information will come up for you on that. Also, if you want to, give us we'll have your contact information. I'd love to talk with you more about that, because sometimes people need to be addressed specifically, personally on that, rather than say, here, go here and do this. More times than not, they won't.
Right. Right.
Okay, so why don't you contact me, and I would love to have that conversation, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nina?
I'm going to next go to Lisa Schultz. Lisa, you're unmuted, but you're self-muted.
Oh, okay. How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I have been interested very much in the Convention of States for many years, but have been concerned about the questions that once we get into the whole convention itself, that that's when the craziness can come in, and where people will decide to add things that were not in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. And what kind of assurances can I give my friends when I talk about the convention, that when we're just trying to get back to the original founders' ideas and not try to get off into a tangent that's totally irrelevant?
Okay, Lisa, thank you for the question. First, I want to say that that's one of the talking points that our opposition uses to discredit the possibility of having an amendments convention. they are bound when a convention is called. The convention is bound to stick to the topics of the application. So no one can, well, someone could introduce something that's not within that purview, but they'd be called out of order. So that's essentially how it works. And there have been other conventions that have happened, not of all the states, but they follow the Roberts Rules of Order, from what I understand. And this is an area where I'm not very well versed, but they are bound to do that. And when the states send their representative, they can send as many as they want, but only one of them is actually titled with commissioner. And the commissioner has been charged by the state legislatures to go and do within the purview of the application. So if anybody decides they're going to go rogue, they can be called back, and in many cases can be charged, and litigation may ensue. So and also you can also on the website, if in the search field, just type runaway convention and you'll find lots of articles there about that. So thanks for the question though.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for this. I've been so interested, but that has been something that, when I talk to my friends and those around me, they just shrug their shoulders like it's not going to happen. And
to that, Lisa, I want to say, because I get people that'll say, oh, we can't do that. That'll never get done. Well, yippee, you get to be right. Do you want to be right? I mean, seriously, how important is it for you to for someone to hold on to that position rather than to step out and challenge it? Therein lies the dilemma. So thank you for your question. Really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for stepping up. Your name is Jackie, correct?
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much for stepping up. I'm really encouraged that you're willing to do that, even if you weren't maybe created to be an extrovert. I'm really, it really gives me encouragement to want to try to.
That's what we're hoping for. All right, Lisa, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to go to Daniel Neubauer. Daniel, you're unmuted. You're self-muted on your end. Daniel Neubauer.
Are you there, Daniel?
You're muted on your end, Daniel.
Well, listen, we're about to run out of time here. So sorry, Daniel. Please feel free to contact me. It's Jackie, JACKIE .Burns, BURNS @cosaction.com. I will answer any and all questions that you have for me. Go to the website. If you haven't signed the petition, please do so. Now, here's where I want you to hang on and watch this video. I've watched it so many times and I can't not tear up when I do. So want to thank you, because I won't come back on the camera at the end of the video, then the webinar is over. So if you would please just hang in there. We're going to have another, by the way, we're going to have another event on the 11th. Where is my date? I lost my date. Hold on. On July 11th, Saturday at 10 o'clock, we'll have another event. It'll be a different theme. Hoping to have a special guest on there, not yet confirmed, but we promise to make it worth your while. And I hope that this was for you as well. God bless you all, and thank you so very much for your time. And we're ready to shoot the video there, Catherine.
Life's intended to be a battle. We're in to survive, we're in to compete, we're in to achieve. Giving up isn't in my nature, and it isn't in our nature. It isn't in our country's nature. It isn't in our children's nature. It isn't in ours, and it wasn't for sure in our parents. So, what are our options? I'm in this to the end, whenever that is. To save a country requires work, and it requires sacrifice. So it requires us to do things beyond what we would normally do. Americans are willing to sacrifice for a great cause. A great cause is our grandchildren. A great cause is liberty. A great cause is freedom. A great cause is working for the betterment of our society. And we do that best when we do that together as citizens. I don't care what the political class thinks. But it is unconscionable to me that when we spend their money, that we're wasting 15 to 20% of it all the time. And America doesn't trust you anymore. That's the truth. Because they don't see the actions coming out of Congress that should be coming out. And that's not one party, that's both. I spent 10 years up here in the Senate and left early because I don't see a solution in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. Congress to fix what's wrong with our country. And if you look at history, all republics eventually fail over the same thing. I've been there, I've seen it, it stinks. It's about them, it's not about us. And so I left looking for another method with which we can cheat history. And our founders gave us this wonderful tool with which to treat the real disease, and it's called Article 5. The only thing that's going to fix our country is a convention of states where we rebalance the relationship between the three branches of the federal government and rebalance the relationship between the states and the federal government. Where we limit their terms, we force the government to balance its books. That means we have to sacrifice. That means I'm on the road 200 days a year. But our country's worth it. Our kids are worth it. Our children are worth it. And our grandchildren are worth it. Come help us restore what is rightfully ours in this country today. Thank you, and God bless you. My message to you all today is we can fix every problem in front of our country, but you have to do it, because Washington will never do it. You're the leaders. You're the ones that are going to make the difference. You're the ones that are going to enthuse. You're going to activate. You're going to motivate. You're going to mentor. Leadership's about standing on principle but building consensus at the same time. And it means you take heat. You take discomfort because you know the goal for which you are achieving is worth sacrificing for. So the question for me is, the rest of my life, will I work to secure the future for the next generation? And do that by promoting a convention of states that will restore the fundamental freedoms that secure our liberty, that secure our future, and secure the next two generations.
So it's my great honor and privilege to bring up my very close friend, Tom Coburn, to work in the Lifetime Achievement.
So my charge to you as you leave here today is let's go and win. Because I believe this country can cheat history. This republic doesn't have to die. this republic can survive. This republic can achieve more than we have ever achieved before. So let's go do it.